Humanity has been in this great conundrum that has simply kept the state of their universe in this lower dimensional time. Why is this, you may ask? This universal frequency of fear that has only depleted our universal multidimensional presence. It is now time that this whole entire fear frequency is totally eradicated from our earthly planet. So, if we look at the word fear in its most simplest form, it is simply an unpleasant feeling or emotion or frequency may be caused by pain or fret or just something that is simply unwarranted. And so we begin to delve deeper into why this entire fear frequency was even created on this planet. The reason being is to keep us in a lower dimensional timeline, to simply have the dominion of control and power over us, to not let this human breed be aware of who they truly are as parts of source in their God. And so as we begin to delve deeper on the topic of fear, we see that this coined word of fear can be simplified by its very acronyms of FEAR, false evidence appearing real. You see, this frequency was created a long time ago by those with, outwardly presence, non-human breed that is not in the highest frequency of the God frequency. And so they determined that in order to keep humanity stuck in this lower dimensional timeline, they came up with all sorts of different ways of creating this fear frequency, which really is something that is affected in our mental, emotional, and could even resort to being in our spiritual and physical bodies. You see, the very meaning of fear states that it's an unpleasant emotion and feeling. And so, you see that in your day-to-day life. You may have many different fears. Common fear is maybe you're scared of a certain wild animal, be it a snake, be it a lion, be it just anything that you think or in your imaginary world could harm you. And so this sort of frequency was created to say that, wow, in this mental body of yours, this, whether it's a thing, a person, place, or thing, it's just something that creates this unpleasant feeling and you kind of would prefer to not experience it. It could be a fear of heights, because when you conceptualize being in a higher state, maybe you're climbing up mountains and there's a deep precipice below you, from your own experience, maybe you have seen or heard that maybe somebody have fallen and, passed away, or just the mere fact of you being grounded on this earth, and anytime you have to elevate yourself to a higher field on this earth, you feel that you have this great fear of heights. Some people even have fear of flying because it's so high up, and it's because you're out of the norm, you're out of your comfort zone. And many have other fears, be it claustrophobia, which is just the fear of being in smaller, tighter spaces, maybe because of certain, whether it's in this lifetime or in past lifetime, you've had experiences where you've been in tight spaces. For some people, they've been in dark rooms, locked up, and it's just creating this emotion of, great pain, great trauma within your emotional body system. And so you have this fear. And others have many different weird fears of certain things, places, people, you name it. And this is simply based on traumatic or threatening experiences. So there you go. On an individual level, we see the great depictions of fear surrounding us. And now we are seeing that on a collective level, humanity is simply getting to a place where they're coming face to face with their fears. Not so much on an individual level, but just on a collective level, because we see how this fear frequency was co-created simply for the purpose of keeping us in a lower dimensional timeline, and for some who are not even awakened, to not be aware of their God frequency, to not be aware that they were simply co-created as part of source, and they are simply non-fearing individuals and souls incarnated on this earth. So when I say this phrase of coming face to face with your fears, it is now taking you and delving you into the bigger picture of this fear frequency. You see, if I look at it from a broader perspective, I see that it's not so much about individual fears, it's about the universal fear frequency that currently exists on this earth. And so I see that humanity on a collective level is now at a stage where the greatest fear that they are facing now is the fear of change, the change that's currently going on, and evolution. You see, for so long, we have lived in this lower dimensional 3D timeline that has just kept us in a state of, fear and, worry and anger and, pretty much living in a state of survival. If you look at the three lower chakras, they're all about the surviving. The solar plexus, the sacral chakra, and the root chakra. That keeps us grounded on this earth. That, simply shows us that we are in human form. We are godlike beings in human form. But I see that this universal fear that was co-created a long, long time ago has now have humanity in a state of the greatest fear, which is the fear of change. And we see that change is the only constant in the universe. For example, if you take yourself back to maybe being birthed, you first see that upon, being co-created in your mother's stomach, you see that you have gone through great change. You first had to, grow in your mother's stomach, stay there for 9 months, be birthed. Before you know it, you're 1 day old. As time goes on, you're walking, you're talking, you're crawling, you're learning human adaptational skills and behavior. and eventually you become an adult. So the point here is simply to show you that we are simply in a state where we're advancing into a high dimensional field where we're moving from one era in this Piscean age and going forward into another era. And we cannot continue to live in the same state, the same fear frequency that has kept us in this lower dimensional timeline. We cannot continue to just fear the change that is coming as we go through this transition. We see that regardless of how we feel, what we think about it, that it's already destined to occur, a great change, and to ascend into a high dimensional frequency and become one with Source again as parts of Source as we go forward into this golden age of Aquarius. So as humanity continues to come face to face with this fear frequency, we begin to see that one of the biggest changes that is currently happening is the great Kundalini rising. Not just with the earth, but with humanity themselves. You see, we are beginning to see that as we continue to awaken and the earth goes through its massive awakening timeline, that many are having this great Kundalini awakening and rising. So to delve deeper into the Kundalini rising, the Kundalini is simply the rising of the sexual energy. Now, to break this down a little bit further, the earth, just like us as human beings, has her own chakra points. And it is said that currently the earth's Kundalini state is currently at Chile and Peru in the Andean Mountains. It is simply located and situated in that area. Now, if we look at ourselves on an individual level, the Kundalini itself, that great sexual energy, on an energetic and spiritual level, sits at the base of our spine in the root chakra. So, root chakra of earth, being in the Andean Mountains in Peru and Chile, and root chakra on the individual level situated at the spine. Now, let's bring this correlation together. We see that this great sexual energy is the merger of the divine feminine and masculine, coiled snake-like energy within us and within the earth. You see, it's simply the God presence, the co-creative presence of higher states of consciousness, of higher states of spiritual awakening and enlightenment. So as we are now being merged fully with the earth and her ascension template, we're seeing that on a massive global scale. The Kundalini is not just rising on the earth, but it's rising in humanity on a collective level. So we see that this great fear that we're facing is coming face to face with the Kundalini rising within humanity and the earth. Now, when I delve deeper into that, I see that many who are going through their transitional phase and their great spiritual awakening and higher states of consciousness may be happy that this is occurring and to go back into that unity conscious oneness principle with Source. But there are also a large amount that do not like this change that is occurring because they have gotten so used to being in this lower dimensional timeline, that they are simply doing everything in their power to keep humanity in this state. And when I go through that expression, I am simply meaning that they're doing everything, whether it's through trickery and, you know, manipulation, trying to keep humanity in that lower dimensional time. And I'm seeing that this group, or this non-human breed existence on this earth, is trying to keep humanity there because they fear the control. They themselves operate simply on fear because they have separated themselves from the God's frequency, which do not operate on fear. This God's frequency operate on unconditional love and courage. And so because this has been the norm for so long, they want to keep humanity there. Now, as they continue to come face to face with this frequency of change and the Kundalini rising, they will begin to see that they will have to go through their own transition. Maybe it's on an individual level, but when they begin to see that the state of the world is slowly but surely changing and evolving. And so we begin to see that we are now in the year of 2025, which when you add this up, it breaks down to the number 9. Now the number 9 in numerology is said to be the number of completion. It is also said that, the earth and humanity has gone through this Kali Yuga cycle, which has lasted for thousands and thousands of years. And it was predicted in Hindu texts that this cycle is going to end in the year 2025. So we are now beginning to see that on an astrological and astronomical level, that great shifts are happening. We are seeing, like, even just on a physical level, that the poles are shifting. So many different prophecies and predictions are currently occurring just with the great shifts that's happening on the earth with the natural disasters and what's even happening in outer space, these solar flares and everything else that's going on. We are now seeing that because of this great shift of the Kundalini rising of the earth and humanity, that we are reaching a stage of fulfillment. We are coming to this end of this lower dimensional cycle and timeline. So as we look at the calendar year of 2025, which breaks down to a 9 in numerology, we see that in the Chinese calendar, which, on a universal and global level, this Chinese calendar is used all around the world. And we see that we are now in the year of the snake. Now, symbolically, we could see that the snake representing these two cord-like features of the Kundalini energy, the Kundalini sexual energy of creation, and the Kundalini rising on the earth and in humanity on the individual level. And as we go forward, we see that, on a synchronistic level, so much is happening. And we see that is why we are now being challenged to come face to face with this great fear of the earth's ascension. You see, we can even look at it on an even bigger picture and see that Nikola Tesla, he studied, the universe. And he came up with the concept of the 369 code. 3 symbolizing creation, 6 symbolizing balance and harmony, and 9 symbolizing completion and fulfillment. And we see that this very synchronistic nature of the number 9 is simply all around us. You know, Nikola Tesla's study of cosmic energy and understanding that these 3 numbers, if you understand this code, that you will be able to understand the greater universe. And as we know, as above, so below. What happens? The greater cosmos happening on earth, signifying the ascension of the earth. And we begin to see that, wow, if you add up the 369 code, it simply breaks down to the number 9 code, which is now the state of completion, as I stated before. The end of one cycle from the Kali Yuga Iron Age, now stepping into the golden age of Aquarius, the stage, the age of awakening and higher states of consciousness, which, if you look at it symbolically, the Kundalini rising being the state of consciousness. We see that this great God presence and oneness principle is being displayed all over the earth planet and the greater cosmos. If you look at the 963 hertz frequency, which is often used in meditation, this simply takes you to the God code. Another, symbolism in the reversal of the 369 code. We see that, wow, as we come face to face with this great fear of the ascension of the earth, we see that this is a very pivotal time of transition and transformation. And we're going from lower dimensional frequency of fear into this great universal presence of unconditional love, which the number 9 symbolizes. This God frequency is just everywhere around us. So I want to advise and just let it be known that whether or not you are ready for this great change, it has already been predestined and predesigned to you. So, as we continue to come face to face with this universal and global fear of change and this great Kundalini rising of the earth and humanity on a collective level, we see that this fear of change is just so rampant, where the systematic way of living is just something that a lot of humanity still do not want to let go of as we continue to elevate and evolve. Now, on the topic of this year 9, which is very pivotal and symbolic, if we look at the 9th dimension in the greater cosmos, we see that beings who are highly ascended masters live in this 9th dimension. And as we continue to rise with this great Kundalini rising, we see that not just that these ascended masters and galactic beings is in the ethereal realms playing their part to help the earth ascend, but we too, as we raise into higher consciousness, are transitioning to become these very beings. So, what I want to actually show you too is, as we continue to shift and raise into higher states of awareness, we are being asked to transcend this norm that we have co-created of living these 3D dimensional busy lives and not taking time for ourselves to truly step into our soul's essence or purpose and our spiritual nature as godlike beings, parts of source. Also, as we delve deeper, we can also look at this very symbolic nature of this Kundalini rising. You see, if you go through biblical texts in Christianity in the Bible, you will see, based on this Adam and Eve story that they presented to us, that, you know, Adam and Eve were tempted by this, snake like being, which it is often said and researched and founded that this very snake like presence was, in fact, the awareness of the Kundalini presence of sexual energy that allowed Adam and Eve to learn about co creating. And so, as we just begin to look at the bigger picture of all of what's happening, these synchronistic expressions within and all around us, we see that, wow, we as humanity on a collective level have been faced with this great change feature to get out of this fear frequency and elevate to this unconditional, courageous presence, God-loving presence all around us, as we are now ending this cycle from this Kali Yoga cycle of being in the Iron Age and living in this lower dimensional 3D timeline of great density, duality, and polarity, and returning back to source, to this God presence that have created each and every one of us and everything in this galactic universe, returning back to the presence of oneness and unity consciousness. So, do not remain in this fear frequency. Continue to come face to face with not just your individual fears, but this predestined code that has let us know that we are all in the stage of transitioning and evolving into a high dimensional earth and greater cosmos.